All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Gary Schick here. I'm a National Partner Manager for Quest Technology Management. I'm joined by my esteemed cohorts and partners in crime, Mr. Brian Perdue, as well as Adam Burke, and welcome to the May 2025 Partner Forum. Appreciate you joining us today. Looking forward to a super session. Just so everybody knows, we do have live microphones out there and cameras, so this is meant to be an interactive session. We're going to be covering quite a bit up there, and we do have some time for questions at the end if you'd like to hold them, or Mr. Perdue always does a fabulous job of responding to the chat as things kind of unfold on the inbound there, so we can do that. Um, we do have an e-gift card for those of you who are in attendance today at the end of the meeting. So Darcy Baker, our Director or VP of Marketing, is on the call, and we'll make sure that we get everyone logged in for that as well. Next slide, Ed. Okay. Hey, super appreciative of your questions for the that you submitted during the registration process. We've got these logged here. I've got this down at the end also. We're going to definitely catch on multiple of these in our session today. For things that we don't touch on actually during the content of the presentation, Adam will kind of skim through these afterwards and make sure that we get these. So these are super appreciated and kind of helps us drive the content for the meeting, and appreciate your sending those in. Next slide. Agenda today, I'm going to do just a quick overview for those of you who are new to Quest. Hit a little bit of our differentiators and sweet spot. Adam's going to pop in and kind of do a little bit about what's hot and trending at Quest. We've got a very special guest today. Our Quest CTO and CIO, Mike Dillon, is going to join us and talk about really hot topic that we're seeing around ransomware preparedness. There's a lot of tentacles and opportunity and moving parts around that. Super happy to have Mike being able to join us today to go through that. Adam's going to follow that up with, what do we do with that content that's there? What solutions do we have? And some talk tracks around that, and then some Q&A. So next slide, Adam. For those of you new to Quest, just tap through a couple times here, that'd be great. Yeah, real quick, Quest has been around for a very long time, since 1982. We are a vendors agnostic solutions integrator or systems integrator. We're a real simple go-to-market strategy and asking our customers how we can help. And as you can see from the list of services, customers have engaged us in many things over the past 40 plus years. We started off as a VAR back in 1982. We're still a VAR. And when I say we, by the way, that means you by extension of being part of the channel and everything here. So solutions, products, licensing, software, the professional services around the consulting. What do I buy? How do I make it work? Implement it? Strategic items, big area that Adam's going to spend some time on today. We've been a service provider and a security service provider since the late 1990s. Cybersecurity obviously is a big component of things that's kind of threaded throughout everything that we touch on today. And Mike's going to be spending some time on that. Physical infrastructure, inside, outside cable plant, all your AV access control, physical cabling, outside plant for fibering, trenching, last mile kind of connectivity. We do have a big unified communications and carrier services division. Know many of you in the channel have lots of options right there. That is definitely a service that can complement your business, and Quest can kind of bring that in if you're looking to kind of consolidate suppliers and do other things too. We can definitely complement what you're doing there, as well as application development and technical staffing. Next slide on. We are a global company, so we own and operate a couple 100,000 square feet of physical space up in Sacramento, California, where our primary network and security operations center is located. We also have a center over in Manila, Philippines, and over in Dublin, Ireland. Kind of the follow the sun model there, and definitely, obviously, know how to open up phone calls, tickets, get the right resources involved on your solution right there. We definitely have technical services. We also have end user help desk. So that's another area that a lot of customers really struggle with right now, is it's a different user set than your general technology users, and a big area right there. We're also in about 25 or so other, we call them service delivery centers, generally between about 500 and about 15,000 square feet. Really where customers, need help on the other side. If they just want a real estate play, certainly they can go directly to any of the data centers and carriers right here. The centers you see here, we're tenants or guests with some physical space in those facilities, delivering extended services for customers who want them as well. Next slide, Adam. And really, when you look at differentiators, where does Quest win, and how are we fitting in? This pizza wheel here on the right hand side really gives a graphic representation of the sellers and the service pillars that we discussed earlier. Where we really start to differentiate is obviously in the channel. There's lots and lots of suppliers in the TSD portfolio that can do any one of the pizza slices that you have right here. There's lots of people that do communications. There's lots of people that do managing cloud services. There's lots of people that do maybe disaster recovery. Where we really start to differentiate is when you need maybe more than 2 or 3 or 4 of these different slices right here. Rather than bring in multiple suppliers for different transactions for a desired customer outcome, where we really start to shine is really the services as you start to bundle all those things together and consolidate the suppliers. Really differentiated by our professional services and application development group and the broad portfolio that we have. Really will tie all those things together. And Adam's going to spend a little bit more time on that this afternoon, but really addressing those gaps is a big deal. So with that, Adam, I will segue over to you, sir, to take us away into what's going on and what's hot at Quest.
Awesome. Thanks, Gary. And again, appreciate everyone taking the time to join us today. We put these partner forums together. You're going to be seeing more and more partner content and training and enablement coming out from our team. So excited to help continue to build with you guys as we're going through this. The changes and the challenges we're seeing with your customers and what we're hearing from you is consistent and on trend with what we've been seeing for the last couple of quarters. Technology is remaining complex. There are multiple different providers in an offering that can sometimes create challenges. The talent shortage is something that is very relevant. A lot of Quest revenue, a lot of where we succeed with you is in the middle market. So think 200 to 2,000 users is a very good target range. We definitely go, into the SMB and we go above that. But the talent shortage for advancing technology and modernization efforts and all this good stuff we're seeing out there, integrating machine learning and artificial intelligence, people need help. And Quest and Extension U are able to help them by bringing IT talent to execute on those different areas where they're looking for help. Most of our, over 75% of our managed service contracts are starting out with helping around a specific pain point or a limitation in their IT talent or their skill set. They need a database administrator. They need help with a movement from on-premise to cloud or to a SaaS environment, or just turning on a certain feature. A lot of organizations, they've already purchased things, they maybe already have an engagement, and sometimes our trusted advisors and our agents that we work with will move past that because that transaction's already been sold. Don't move past that. There's a huge opportunity in professional services to get engaged on a one-time engagement that usually, transitions into some significant opportunities. When you look at the back offices of the different TSDs out there, it's sometimes hard to put Quest into a box, right? Are we a cybersecurity organization? Are we a cloud services organization? Are we a physical infrastructure organization and cabling vendor? Are we a data center? Yes, we're all of those things, but where we differentiate is tying the different services together. I just got off a call this morning with an organization where we were able to come in, and because we have a cabling and physical infrastructure team, because we have application integration and application development support, because of our VAR background where we can source the product, and because we can manage that product and provide help desk 24/7 going forward, we were able to take a 4-vendor solution and simplify it down to a managed Wi-Fi solution where we brought in the telecommunications, we brought in the hardware, we supported the services day two, and we supported the end user, the residents of this facility, as an ongoing service across a 3-year deal for a cost per access point. Huge, totally changed the game in sense of we were able to work with that general contractor to come in and deliver them a cost per resident for their apartment complex. Totally different conversation because we didn't approach it as a VAR. We didn't approach it as a professional service organization. We didn't approach it as a security team. We approached it as a, hey, what are you trying to do? What they were trying to do was get a cost per user model for their Wi-Fi. So that's sometimes harder to summarize in the back office. A lot of these are kind of point solutions. Where we differentiate is what are they trying to do? If we can have that opportunity to have that conversation about what they're trying to do, huge game changer as far as working with the client. These are some, for those of you who are new to Quest or maybe haven't worked with our professional services team or any of that type of thing in the past, these are some of our different contract vehicles. The most flexible engagement that we have that can really help anybody. I've rarely been on a call where a customer says, you know what, I don't need this. Technical on-call support, we call it TOCS for short, is an ad hoc, reactive, and scheduled service based on a retainer where that client can open up a ticket or call their service manager at Quest 24/7 to schedule a resource or engage emergency support. So it could be a security issue, it could be an outage, it could be an upgrade that they're scheduling down the road and they're not quite confident on how to do it, and they need some support to help them on a 4, 8, 1 hour time block. Very flexible, and it has a $5,000 retainer minimum. Now, this technical on-call support often leads into significant other opportunities because if you are that customer, if you have a customer who's calling you and an extension calling us to help them with ad hoc support, you're now part of their operations. You're now part of their delivery mechanism in-house, helping them achieve what they're trying to do. Technical on-call support, huge opportunity to get involved in your customer's business, from could be simple as cabling all the way up to advanced API integration, senior DBA work, modernization projects, everything in between. Huge differentiator there where you can help land in a customer, $5,000 retainer. If they can't afford a $5,000 retainer, that's probably not a good fit, but huge opportunity. The rest of these are some other contracts that we have in place. Letter of engagement for a specific skill set. Hey, I need this type of engineer. A statement of engagement is a way where we can help them from a time and material basis execute a specific task list. And then everyone on this call, I think we all know what a statement of work is. Hey, I'm going to achieve X, Y, and Z, and it's going to cost you this amount of money, right? So it's a fixed scheduled project. One of the fastest growing areas we saw, and this continued through Q1 of 2025, is professional and staff augmentation engagements, right? So getting resources under a contract, 3, 6, 12 months of, hey, I'm going to supply this contracted resource for a period of time and directly place them at an account. So when you're talking to your customers, you have the ability to help them hire and help them place and help them source any level of IT talent that they need. Architect, IT director, CIO, whatever it may be. We have an entire staffing division, multiple recruiters, and people that are constantly on the phone sourcing and placing talent, about 450 engineers, full-time placement at any given time around the United States and overseas. Huge opportunity. And then, like we talked about before, help desk is a big service that we have. It's a challenging engagement to get right. So there's no hidden mask there as far as help desk. Help desk is supporting end users. It takes a lot to get that right. We answer the phones 24/7. We did surveys of why do you work with Quest? Like, hey, what do you like about what we do? Some of the most common feedback we got was you pick up the phone and you call us back and you do what you say you're going to do. So that, from a help desk perspective, supporting end users is a challenge. but if you can do it professionally and do it consistently, there aren't a lot of managed service providers that bundle that in successfully. We've been doing that for 25 years. We'll get into it a little bit more when we're talking ransomware, but emergency support and our Quest Flex bundles are some areas where we help organizations in an emergency basis. And again, these have their minimums over here, and we'll send this slide out to everyone after the call. The technical on-call support, this is again that scheduled and reactive support. It can be remote, it can be on-site, and it can be emergency. These are all the different skill sets and the hourly rates that we have available. And we are promoting this through a spiff as well, right? So a new logo, this is a great way to capture a new logo and get your foot in the door as an advisor to help them. Again, in the middle market, this is a no-brainer. If you get on a call with a customer and walk through technical on-call support, very, very seldomly does this not land. Get you guys a nice $500 new logo spiff plus your standard commissions on that from a professional services standpoint. So great opportunity, $5,000 retainer puts about $1,200 in your bank account as a quick win, and also can spider off into all sorts of different opportunities: audio visual, network, database, firewall services, security, DevOps, and then also down here, incident response services, emergency incident response services. A lot of clients are needing help with that. From a professional services standpoint, again, there's a lot there. We have a ton of content. If you go to questsys.com, www.questsys.com, and go to the partner tab, all of these resources are available for you. And also we are building and have some go-to-market playbooks that are available for you on how to start these conversations, as well as LinkedIn posts for your business, and some really cool, simple email campaigns that you can launch to start the conversation around these different service offerings. So if you want help, hey, how do I communicate this capability to my customers? How do I let them know if they need help with this? We have playbooks developed for you. And we'll get that information out to you as far as what you can leverage there as well. All right, so true to form, and this is apologize for the little shift here, but while Gary was doing his fantastic introduction, we had a ransomware attack on a customer who happens to use us for backups, and they launched incident response services, and Mike is fully engrossed helping remediate and recover that client from our managed backup solution. So we get calls 24/7, and we happened to get one this morning about 20 minutes before this meeting, and Mike is fully engaged in a ransomware engagement right now. So we, as part of our service offering, we run managed backups and we run immutable storage options. And immutable storage options, as we'll discuss here, are one of the last lines of defense when an organization gets in trouble. So we run that service. The bad actors are going after the backups. They're going after the critical infrastructure. And I haven't got the full report yet, but what it looks like so far is a real world example, an organization that we support on the East Coast. Someone clicked on a malicious link. It traversed their environment very, very quickly, downloaded a packet. Sounds like they did not have some intrusion detection and IDS and IPS or DNS filtering turned on. So it downloaded an exploit and encrypted their entire database. Lucky for them, sounds like they had been using our immutable backups and have been pushing backup jobs to Quest. So we are in the process right now of building out a greenfield environment for them. So I've been through about 400 of these engagements over the last 5 years. So I'm going to do my best to step in for Mike Dillon, who is the technical talent and has been doing a lot of these as well with our IR team. So, during a ransomware experience, and what we would love for you guys as partners to know is that on our website, there's an under attack button. It's a big red button that says under attack. It's 24/7 available. Thanks, Brian, for just putting that in the comments. ir@questsys.com, or you can call anyone on the partner team and say, I have a customer who needs emergency help. What do I do? What we'd love for you to do is go to ir@questsys.com, put the information in there, who you'd like us to contact, or how you'd like us to engage with you to support them 24/7. This one kicked off this morning pretty early. I saw it about a half hour before this call started. But you as the partner can facilitate rapid response and rapid engagement. So ransomware, I'm sure everyone's seen the different stories of the main threats that have been going on out there. But what happens on day zero? What happens immediately when this comes in? And I just saw this real time this morning. We first have to understand how far has that threat traversed the environment? Can it be contained? And what's being impacted? So when we're talking to your clients, we're trying to figure out, is it one user? Is it 50 users? Or in the case of the example we're seeing today, no, it's their entire business. It's their entire customer database. They're 100% shut down from a manufacturing standpoint. Okay, cool. So then we're identifying, help the client understand, what does that mean for their business, right? What does that mean? The question that means is, okay, you can't communicate, you can't operate, you can't manufacture, you can't distribute. What does it mean for your business? If it's a services business, you can't service your clients. If it's a healthcare business, what does that mean? Are they exporting data? Is it getting worse? What's impacting the business? Are we going to be hit with fees? How do we deal with that? Where you can come in and where you can typically help is, hey, let's get the experts engaged. Let's get some people who've been in this fight before. And we've gone through these ransom examples in the past. Typically, they negotiate. It's kind of like buying a car. They start high and they start negotiating down to figure out, hey, they figure out the worth of the business, the value of the business. There's public information about revenue and public information about sometimes about profitability of companies. They're going to extort as much money as they can and try to barter a deal to get paid in Bitcoin and get out as fast as they can. One thing that we help identify is, okay, what do you have in place today? Do you have backups that are effective? Have you tested them? Do you know that those backups are not compromised, right? Can we validate that the ransomware and the malware has not impacted or encrypted that controller for those backups? So you go through those recovery options. What are the options? Do you have current data, or are you kind of up a creek without a paddle and you have no backups? And now we got to figure out, proof of life of the data, and actually, hey, will they actually provide a key, and how do you negotiate through that? Step number 5 is you're going to be discussing the relevance of, hey, if you don't have data, are you paying the ransom, or are you going to build from legacy backups or something else? How are you going to deal with that? Are you authorized to pay the ransom? There are bad actors, Iran, Russia, terrorist organizations that are identified by the FBI. You cannot, and you will commit a felony if you knowingly pay to a threat actor who is from one of these countries, or one of these basically FBI identified enemies of the state, that if you pay them, you're basically helping to facilitate transaction with known terrorists, and now on top of having your business taken, you are now got to deal with the feds. So want to check that first. Quest is constantly in communication with our FBI counterparts and folks that are in the cybersecurity division, and how this process goes. That's something you want to take into account as well. As you're going through it, they're targeting certain things within your environment. If it's personally identifiable information or healthcare data or client information, there are fees associated with those breaches. So sometimes what they do, these are criminals, these are extortion folks, these are people who know what they're doing. They're going to try to threaten you with data breach, with additional fees, with, hey, we're going to publish this. Hey, we have XYZ data and we're going to put it on the dark web. All those kind of threats, understanding what they've encrypted or what they have access to. If you pay the ransom, sometimes we get called in after an organization has gone through a threat, and gone through a situation, and maybe they paid the ransom. Are they gone? Right? Have you done a containment review? Have you done a breach review? Have you gone through and evaluated, is there any malware still present? Right? Did you go through a root cause analysis of it? How did this happen? A lot of folks sometimes haven't, and then they find out that, after they think they've rebuilt, they get a trigger hits and they get hit again. So very, very important is, are they gone? What we see as a first responder in these incidents is oftentimes they're after hours. They love to attack on weekends and they love to attack on holidays when people's guard is down, right? Candidly, the IT departments are not always that shocked about it, right? They've kind of advised, hey, we need to do this. Hey, maybe the CEO being annoyed with multi-factor authentication and turning it off is a bad idea. IT departments, they know how vulnerable they are. Everyone within the IT department understands the holes that they have in their castle. Executives don't. The executives are usually surprised because they've been writing the checks. They've seen the money that's been spent on cybersecurity assets. They're typically pretty surprised that something negative could possibly happen. And they also, when you're dealing with your clients who are going through a ransomware event, sometimes they don't know that the usual recovery from a ransomware incident is between 18 to 21 days. It's a significant amount of time, right? The executives sometimes think like, no, we got a backup plan. We'll be back up and operational by Monday. My IT guys told me we had backups forever. We'll be fine. File level backups? Yeah, sure. You can restore files pretty quick. But when your systems are completely held for ransom and you have to rebuild applications and rebuild functionality that's, some of these companies are 20, 30 years old, you're rebuilding legacy systems from scratch. And that's a long time. There's also a misconception out there, and not to speak ill of any software vendors or transactional platforms or anything like that, but really a lot of people kind of read their SLAs and read their agreements and their enterprise licensing agreements after the breach, right? They thought like, well, I'm in Azure, so I'm safe, or I'm in AWS, so I'm safe, or I acquired this endpoint protection, so I'm safe, or I bought this next generation firewall, so I'm safe. No, you're really not. You bought a tool, and maybe you bought the best missile system in the world, or maybe you bought some fantastic machine guns, but if all your soldiers are sleeping or dead or not able to operate those systems, you're going to get rolled over by the enemy pretty quick. Doesn't matter, right? The tools don't equate to victory in those types of combat situations. So that's often a misconception as well. People think that tools are going to save them. They won't. And then a big one that really, really surprises, and we see this almost every single engagement. And it happens like clockwork. Like we're probably going to get the call around noon today from the person we're dealing with, that Mike's dealing with right now. They're going to ask us to hold, right? So we get engaged, we launch a retainer, we start helping. And what happens usually is the lawyers from the company talk to the lawyers from the cyber insurance people, and the cyber insurance people are very, very interested in this word right here: forensics versus operational recovery. The insurance companies want you to pause. They want you to hold. They want to pull all the logs and get all the forensics and figure out who's at fault, because they're going to be the one who has to pick up the check. So typically what happens is panic sets in. IT guys throw up their hands and say, I don't know how to do this. I need help. Incident response gets declared. Firefighters like Quest get involved and start trying to understand what's going on. Usually around 6 to 12 hours after that initial panic, the lawyers get involved, and they'll usually pause for a forensics review or a log review. And that's fine. What the executives up here will also kind of be surprised with is this forensic pause does not care about the company getting back to an operational state. Their main concern, their IR people, their incident response people that are going to come in are looking at the car wreck. They're looking at the car accident, and they're trying to figure out who is at fault for the car accident. Where we are typically involved, we do forensics as well, but where we're typically involved is in the operational recovery. Hey, we need to get this truck back on the road because there's a delivery that needs to be made. We understand that they got cut off and this person, ran a red light or whatever. But what we're needing to focus on, what the executives typically are focusing on, is how do we secure this environment and get it back up and operational so the business can still exist. Sometimes people can sit around and do forensics for multiple days and extend this recovery time significantly. Another area that is pretty critical is if they get hit on a Friday and you have the weekend to deal with things, there's a crisis communication plan that needs to happen. And what are we really going to do on Monday? How are we going to communicate to our clients, and how are we going to communicate to our personnel? So that's a big thing that we help with. We typically love to help with this proactively. Hey, let's put together a crisis communication plan. Let's put together a business continuity plan. Let's do a ransomware tabletop. We'll talk about that in a minute. But that's, as far as communicating with your people, how are you gonna deal with that? Yeah. So, and then not to be cynical, I'm a positive guy. I'm a happy-go-lucky, positive, non-cynical person for all of these who don't know me. It's a horrible joke. But 6 months later, more often than not, most firms are back to the bad habits they engage with before going through the problem, right? So haven't hit rock bottom yet is a good way to say it, right? They kind of, you patch them up on the operating table, you get them back operational, you clean up their environment, you let them go back out there, and more often than not, you're going to see this as trusted advisors. You do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. Kind of the definition of insanity. They're going to go buy something. They're going to go drop in some endpoint or MDR solution, and they're going to let it be, and they're going to go roll. And that's just the way it is. So not to be down about it, but just be aware that's probably going to happen. And just stay in contact with them and make sure that they know there's firms like Quest and like you who can help them get through that. We are trying to be proactive, and we're trying to make sure we're helping organizations with this. So what we've seen from a key security gap standpoint is usually there's a couple areas where, they think they're being protected. They think they're deployed. They haven't necessarily kind of done the trust but verify on their assets and their layered security. They believe a vendor has them covered, right? They believe Microsoft or Arctic Wolf or Sophos or any of the security, Palo Alto, any of the security vendors are going to take care of them, which is in some layers of their security, that's absolutely true. In operational recovery, not necessarily the truth. A lot of firms don't have access to all of the assets that are required in order to recover. When a ransomware event happens, it hits every aspect of an IT organization. So Quest as a system integrator is unique in the sense that we understand, there's a firewall compromise. Yes, there's an endpoint in an operating system that needs to be resolved. There's applications and APIs and SaaS applications and all sorts of different connectivity. All this spider web of IT is attacked. So just resolving the endpoint doesn't fix your problem. Just resolving the server instance doesn't fix the fact that your entire business is shut down. So one of the areas that a lot of firms kind of assume is, well, I have an XDR or MDR or SASE solution, therefore that's going to help me stay alive. That's a tool, right? The tool doesn't protect you. The experience operating the tool does, and operating the entire business. So something that we constantly evangelize is just educating on that piece, right? Having the business continuity plan, doing the drills, going through the incident response, going through the crisis communication, developing the run books. There's a lot of work that goes into this, but a lot of firms have some great assets. So this is our cyber defense suite here on the right-hand side, right? We're going to talk a little bit more about it. But these are the layered areas where firms are looking for help and need help. And this is where we layer in and can help deliver these, or we can help manage what they already have in place today. Those are two key things. Almost every firm that you talk to has some type of email security. Could be Microsoft, could be Proofpoint, could be Mimecast, could be Zebra, could be anything, right? A lot of folks have a password concept. A lot of folks that have a cybersecurity insurance have multi-factor authentication. Is it working? Is it operational? Is it maintained? Those are the areas where they can get exploited. So what do? Basically, people are spending more money, but again, buying tools or operational efficiency is a big gap. We're seeing folks used to be between 7 and 10% of their IT budget. We're seeing that now between 10 to 20%, right? People are afraid, people are getting hit, got to automate these as much as you can, but at the end of the day, you need help operating the tools. So we're helping with that. We're seeing people do that. Assessments are huge. We have a cybersecurity health check engagement, very, very low entry to initial assessment. Basic entry, about $4,500 for 7 assets that we go through, or about $750 per asset that we go through. But you can go full boat, full business impact analysis, which is a pretty significant engagement, where you look at what happens if something goes wrong and document that all out and help firms kind of understand what might be coming for them. So assessments, if you ever have a question around all the different cybersecurity assessments, again, it's on our website. But helping firms understand where they are is critical. And then like a full business impact analysis, it's going to help them evaluate what happens with different disruptions. Something that we're paying a lot of attention to and that we're investing in is a ransomware tabletop workshop, right? So this is a 4-hour session. This is available to you as a partner with any of your clients. Open up an opportunity. We'll schedule a resource to help get this scheduled with you and your client. But it allows them to understand what happens during this process. It gives them a good, snapshot of firms that are like them, that have gone through mistakes, and we kind of talk through some misconceptions. It's similar to a disaster recovery conversation, but it's not just a traditional natural disaster situation. This is much more. It's a non-visible kind of situation where firms can be held ransom and no one knows until you figure out how you're going to communicate that to your people. The biggest value of a ransomware tabletop discussion is preparing the executives and communicating from a third party's perspective what the IT team has probably been saying for a good amount of time around areas where the firm is at risk. So it gives them a roadmap to what risks they have in place and areas where they can help remediate it. We give them a little bit of a path saying, hey, these areas are doing great. These are a couple of things you maybe want to take a look at. And this happens to everybody. The firm that got hit today that we were dealing with this morning, 200 user group, small manufacturing, not a huge company, but they're completely shut down. Their business is completely tabled right now because someone clicked on a link. The sample agenda here, we go through the purpose, we go through the roles and responsibilities, we run 2 scenarios, right? Usually the first scenario is around how things are detected and how things are assessed, and then the decision-making process. How are we communicating this? How are we responding? And then, some decisions. Are we paying the ransom? Are we trying to recover from backups? How does that look? And then the second scenario is typically around how is this being communicated out to the world? And then how is, what data is most at risk and most vulnerable for the firm? We do an after action review of those scenarios, and then, kind of a summary and the lessons learned and some documentation around some recommendations we have for improvement. So ransomware tabletop discussion, great opportunity. Any questions or comments? Again, apologies that Mike wasn't able to be here. I've got a couple texts from him. They're dealing with that emergency right now. But any questions that I can help address for the team here? All right. Well, the mics are open, and I'd like to introduce Adam Burke. Oh, hey, it's me again. Yay! Just kidding. So some of the things that that we were talking about in the ransomware summary that can really help, and from a best practice standpoint, this is the cyber defense suite. Again, these are services that when we've seen all these incident response and this ransomware come, it's typically because one of these areas has not been focused on, right? So 24/7 device monitoring and alerting, multi-factor authentication, immutable storage. This one on the bottom here, immutable storage, is probably the cheapest insurance policy any of your clients can get as far as remediation from ransomware. It's anywhere between 10 to 15 bucks a terabyte per month. It's not a huge cost. It's basically a write once off-net backup of their critical assets. And this has saved more people than I can count in their recovery efforts. We had a firm that saved about a $4 million ransom because they accidentally created an immutable copy of their backups that was about to be deleted from their backup job schedule, that we found at the last minute, and we were able to recover some of their key systems. They didn't have to pay the $4 million ransom. It cost them a significant penny to rebuild their environment, but a much, much smaller impact than the 4 million. And even when you pay the ransom, you might not get it. So all of these assets, all of these different services, we provide as a service on a cost per user or cost per asset model. And we also, very, very critical here, we can help support what a client already has in their environment. So if they have an endpoint protection solution that they like, but they want us to help with email security and maybe device monitoring and some vulnerability scanning, we can mix and match what they have with what we want to augment and put into their environment and deliver as a service. They don't have to subscribe to just what Quest has, right? That's a big differentiator for us. These are our building blocks. This is what we believe in. This is what we think helps people. We're not always the only provider in town. Maybe they have an endpoint solution they like. Maybe they have a ZTNA bundle that they like through HP or through Palo Alto or through Cisco. That's great. Maybe they have Cisco Umbrella from a DNS security perspective, and they just need help with us monitoring and patching their systems. Fantastic. These are areas where a lot of folks need help. This is probably along with technical on-call support, the cybersecurity checkup is probably one of the best entry points for you as an advisor and a consultant with your firms to get involved in their security world. These are simple engagements where we have a senior engineer in any one of these areas. They can pick one, they can pick three, or they can pick all seven. And we basically, it's $4,500, and we'll do all seven of these areas. We have a senior engineer who understands their email security platform, go in and look at their policies, look at their controls, look at how their email security is designed, and give them actionable feedback. Hey, this is what you're doing well. This is where you can improve. Here's our recommendations. This is takes about 2 to 3 days to basically we go in, pop the hood, take a look at things, document what we find, and give them a report. So for all 7 of these, it's $4,500. I had a client yesterday who said, okay, so you'll look at my patch management for $4,500. No, we will do a checkup, and there's a specific statement of work for each one of these bullet items of what we're going to do. So backups, we'll take a look at their backup jobs, how their backups are scheduled, their remote connectivity and their user authentication, right? So single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, VPN. How are their people touching their environment? How are their remote workers accessing their data? We'll take a look at these features and we will let them know, hey, your MFA is dialed in. Your VPN, your firewall, kind of close to Swiss cheese. You might want to tighten up those policies a little bit, right? So we document that all for them, and they can mix and match and do it as they will. We have customers who sign on to do these every 6 months. It can be a one-time deal, or it can be hey, we're going to the doctor, we're getting checked up, we're making sure we're doing okay. So, and again, great spiffs associated with these too, and these oftentimes lead to ongoing, ongoing engagements as well. We have some go-to-market collateral on this as well on our partner website if you'd like to take a look at that. There are a lot of organizations are looking for help with the ongoing security view of their environment or a penetration test and a cyber risk scan. So we love to start with what we call, reputational monitoring, right? How are you being viewed from the outside world? And your customers, how are they being viewed? The bad guys are scanning constantly. When we say every single customer is potentially at risk for this, the reason we say that is because it's all automated now. Everyone's getting scanned 24/7. They're looking for vulnerabilities. This is what we do to help organizations be proactive, is we scan in a similar way and provide ongoing feedback and give them those scores. So we give them a security rating score. We let them know what they look like from the external standpoint. It's a cost per domain, not a huge investment. I believe, depending on the size of the environment, it's between $500 to $800 a month for continual reputation monitoring. So very, very low entry, but can lead to a lot of areas where for firms can need help. Brian mentioned this in the comments, and I think he put a link onto it as well. But I know I said machine learning and AI, I think within the first 10 minutes, but it's been about 50 minutes and we haven't brought up AI. So we're on a webinar. It's just, you have to bring up AI at least once. But our AI workshops are not around the idea of, hey, we're going to go in and build a large language model for your client. That's not necessarily where we're seeing people need help with AI. What we're trying to do is help organizations with the fundamentals. Is their data ready, right? What is driving their industry to leverage artificial intelligence or machine learning? What do they have in place today? Their applications, their data, their governance, as far as we've all heard the horror story of when someone released Copilot into their environment and just someone asked the question, hey, Copilot, what's the CEO make, or what's the head of HR make, or asking for salaries. And if that policy was not created to limit the access of that agent, that artificial intelligence agent, it's gonna share information and have access to everything. So we help organizations, hey, what kind of policies you're going to create, and then we put together some documented recommendations around that. So huge opportunity. Everyone's trying to figure out this space. This is a great opportunity to help have this conversation in a workshop and cybersecurity type model, where let's talk about the risks, let's talk about the benefits, let's talk about the policies, and let's provide some written guidance to your clients from an AI perspective. This is an engagement that typically comes with a statement of work, and depending on the size of the environment, it will kind of dictate the cost model there. So,
Adam, one of the questions that Kevin actually had specifically on the AI assessments, he was asking about shadow AI occurrences where employees are accessing things that maybe haven't been approved by the IT team. I assume that's part of the, if you go
Yeah,
back one slide,
yeah, that's part of the
that's
governance.
part of the policies. Okay.
Yeah, that's part of the governance, right? The policies and access control and identity management. So
Okay,
that's
cool.
where, absolutely, great question, Kevin. So that's where, people can go to ChatGPT, they can download Perplexity, they can, go to Gronk, they can do all sorts of things, and they can put data. There's two things that you need to control. One, they can take company data and put it into a large language model that you don't have any control over, that their IT doesn't have any control over, and all of a sudden you're dealing with an organization learning off of your data, which is a problem. And there's the idea that can also it can have access to your environment and maybe get information out or to the operators that you don't want. So it's definitely a security conversation. It's identity access management. It's all those policy types of discussions too. So, and yeah, Kevin, we'll definitely get you that handout as well. So something that's cool. I want to make sure, haven't seen as much of these as I thought I would. So I want to reiterate to you guys who are on the call, this is something we rolled out in Q1. These are things that we are happy to pay and want to pay. So we would love for you to leverage these. These are pipeline promotions. These are not awarded opportunities. This is pipeline. So if you have a customer who has any needs around application development, could be a SQL database review, could be a conversation around SharePoint, application modernization, migrating from one cloud environment or on-premise to another. If they want to have a discussion about that, and you're good registering the opportunity and working with Quest, we will pay $500 for that meeting. For application development, we went over Cyber Defense Suite. So running back up here real quick to Cyber Defense Suite, any of these conversations, endpoint security, patch management, DNS, every single one of your customers is dealing with this stuff, right? Every single one, we're paying $500 for that opportunity. If you bring us in as your partner to work on that engagement with them, right? So huge opportunity. And then Quest risk management, DR, and business continuity planning. We have a full risk management practice that goes through business continuity plans, risk management, run books, all those types of compliance issues that are getting pushed down. If your client needs help with that and they want to have a conversation, this is not an awarded opportunity. This is a pipeline. So there's a full landing page registration for this. You guys get that meeting scheduled. We give you a $500 virtual gift card, Visa gift card directly to you. We email it directly to you. So the same format you guys are getting hit with your e-gift card today, which I believe is a nice little thank you for listening to me talk for about the last 45 minutes. I'll pay for friends. I was in a fraternity. It's okay. I'm not against it. This idea is we want these engagements. We'd love to pay you for them. And then in addition to when we do get the award, normal comp and everything like that. So please take a look at that. The application development is probably one of the fastest growing areas where we see, long-term success, huge opportunity there. About 70% of IT spend is in this space, right? And it starts out with things that are very, very simple. SQL database reviews, API integration, API security, all sorts of good things. We had one great customer win. They started out with a $4,000 SQL database assessment. To date, we've invoiced and billed over I think I'm close to 4.5 million now in ongoing services, helping that client and that customer build out a loan origination platform, right? With 27 different plugins and more stuff than we could ever put in a back office matrix around how we help people. So great opportunity there. And again, the Cyber Defense Suite, these are the pipeline opportunities that we can work together on, right? Endpoint security, DNS security, password protection. Had a nice win recently with a 250 employee environment, helping them swap out their current MSP, right? And we ended up saving them some money, but also had a great win there. So great opportunity there. All of this content is available at questsys.com under our partner page. So if you go to partners and you look at the resources, the cybersecurity, health checks, all these workshops, all of these assets are available for you. And if you need any help or you need any content, please reach out to partners@questsys.com anytime. Now, these are some spiffs for awarded opportunities, right? So new logo, $500, and then another one that is kind of a no-brainer in my mind would be a huge thing, huge opportunity. $250 for every capability review that we do. We love to hop on, Brian, myself, Gary, anyone on the partner team, hop on with you and your customer, talk through some capabilities. We know Quest does a lot of different things. We want to boil it down into how we really help customers. And the capability review is a great opportunity to say, here's how we've helped organizations in the past get their wheels turning a little bit, make it their idea. Hey, maybe you guys can help me with that talks program you talked about, or kind of get that going. So again, $500 new logo spiff, but for a capability review, this is kind of a pipeline activity. You get a meeting scheduled, that same virtual gift card that's going to get forwarded to you now, all we do is we add $250 to it, send it directly to you, right? It goes directly to you as the partner of record. And then everything else, the opportunity tags to your TSD the same way it normally would. So
Hey, Adam, real quick,
yeah.
Kevin had another AI question. I think he's doing some Googling behind the scenes here. He's deep into the AI questions, but our app dev team or DevOps team, any experience with assisting people with AI agent developments?
So we work with a lot of the integration of what other people have developed. So like look at there's everyone out there is kind of developing the AI agents. The biggest challenge we're seeing people deal with is the AI agents have to work with data that and interoperability between the agents. That's the biggest opportunity right now, because you'll have like ServiceNow and you'll have Microsoft and you'll have Oracle and you'll have all these other different, a lot of you guys are selling UCaaS and CCaaS solutions with their agents. The biggest gap is those agents talking to each other and referencing the same database that can be usable. Right now, that's our biggest gap that we're addressing, that we're seeing the most need for from a development standpoint.
Data governance and classification, stuff like that.
And interoperability between the agents.
Okay.
We're not developing the agents to go, figure out and use their logic. We're taking the logic that they have, and we're basically, think of it as like the decoding between the way they operate versus the data they use, so they don't get all that hallucination like stuff. That's the biggest gap we're seeing right now.
Cool. Thanks.
Yep. I know we're coming up on the end of it. These are some services that we have. As far as if you want to be a part of it, let us know. Partners@questsys.com, or talk to your national partner manager. We send out security advisories all the time. 0-day threats. Here's what we're seeing. Known vulnerabilities, patches, or end of life things that are happening that are going to be an issue for legacy systems. So, for example, in February, these were our topics, right? So these were the things that we were sending out around security advisor and some end of life situations and things like that. If you want to be a part of it, you can opt in or you can opt out, but please let us know. We'll send this deck out as well. But all the different things that we talked about, these are all assets that are available on our website, as well as in our partner forum and our partner page. So please go check that out. We are, just as a quick teaser, we are rolling out a learning management and accreditation system where we are basically you get on-demand training anytime you want to use it. Short hits, usually between 5 to 20 minutes on different topics that will be inviting folks to join in on if they'd like to. And again, lots of resources, lots of data sheets, lots of assets and use cases and studies and things like that for you. So I think we are over time. Gary, anything else you wanted to cover today on here as we kind of close out on how to engage or things like that?
Oh, great job, Adam. Thank you. And just thank you for all for joining, for the great questions that you submitted. Brian, Adam, and I are thrilled to be able to be a part of your business growth and look forward to the opportunity of helping out when it's timely.
Yeah. Brian, any more questions from Kevin on AI, or are we good for today?
No, I think Kevin's good
Yeah.
on AI for right now. Thanks, Kevin.
Good deal. Thanks for engaging, Kevin. Appreciate the questions. This is this partner support team. We're growing, adding more resources all the time. And yeah, so thank you all very, very much. And we'll follow up with a little thank you to you as well. So thanks again. Have a great day.
Thanks all.
Good deal. Thanks, everyone.